All right, hello everyone. This is the editor group, product design, UX research, weekly sync. And I'll kick it off with just a few sort of requests / FYIs, mostly for Michael. The first was during the issue refinement session this morning. We were going over sort of the three main priorities, top nav, left nav, and the content editor MVC. When it comes to the left nav, Dennis had a specific request to just make sure that we have documented the absolute final scope for 14.0 and not anything forward looking. So like we've talked about, sometimes like things that we're not sure of creep in there. We just want to make sure that it's representative of exactly what we plan to ship on 14.0. So I think we can take that chance to review and make sure there's nothing that we're waffling on or need to make a final decision on, like this idea of moving members into the product information section. But if we could just document that in the epic, then he will have a single source of truth for it.
Yeah, I was going to ask which issue or epic do you want that in? But yeah, I'll do that at the epic level.
Yeah, I think just that epic that we're using to track the 14.0 push, the one that's not the, yeah, I'll drop a link in there when I
yeah, that'd be good.
Switch the window over.
Thank you.
And I think similarly, documenting the final proposed architecture that we want to see in 14.0. So an ideal state for all the different moves of categories and breaking up operations and renaming such and such and all those issues that are in there now. Probably be easier if we just had one place to look and say, like, this is what it should look like at the end. And then we can work backwards and making sure all those issues get closed out. And I know, Catherine, you have this basically in a Google Sheet already, so we can use that as reference and just double check and make sure we're good with that. And yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and I have a question there. Also, was the backlog refinement session recorded? Couldn't find a video.
Roman was leading it. I don't think it, I didn't see the little recording icon, so I don't think he did.
Yeah, because reading
It
the
should
agenda.
be next time.
Oh yeah, no worries. It's just that reading the agenda brought the question up to me of, so like what realistically could actually change beyond what we've kind of already explored? Like for example, the ideas around spreading settings and analytics everywhere. Like, is that even feasible for 14.0? Because if it's not, then we could like take it off of our brain space for the near term. So if you have guidance,
that's a great question. I will say that the one thing that sounds like it's coming from this is that settings is an entirely different beast, and creating new settings views would increase the scope to the point where we're risking 14.0, our ability to deliver 14.0. So Michael, as much as I want to ship that one where we're breaking out merge requests into its own top level, Fran implied, although he had a bad connection and couldn't stay for the whole meeting, but he's made it clear in an issue async and during the meeting that is more complex than we might have time for 14.0. So I think it follows that in order to get the right mapping for all those settings views, we would need to break some of them out, and that would probably be out of scope for 14.0. I don't know the complexity for analytics. I know, but I feel like that still needs to be validated by the analytics group. I don't really have, I don't know, a strong enough opinion on whether or not we should push for that, but the gist of what I heard is if we're able to deliver this refactor that Fran's working on, which is still an if, he's working as fast as he can given the other priorities with the database optimization, but if we can deliver that refactor, it's fairly, I don't want to use the word easy. It's fairly inexpensive to rename left nav items and regroup them and move them around. It's not as easy to create new settings views and create entirely new routes for pages to land. So I think that's kind of our barometer.
Thank you. Yeah, just because of all the different types of things that were floating around, like maybe having tabs on pages and maybe doing lifecycle buckets, I just wanted to see if those would be even just too big for 14.0, then whatever uncertainties or things that maybe Michael knows of, we could focus on that in terms of research and getting anything past the line for 14.0.
Yeah, I think those specific examples are more than we can promise for 14.0.
Do you know if the challenges with the restructuring or moving things or creating a new views for settings is documented in an issue anywhere, like in a comment or anything like that?
Yes. I will drop it in a link here. I just had my email open. So here's the comment, and I'll just read it. So it's documented on the call too. So Fran said the work we need to do here is not small. Here meaning moving the merge request from general to its own settings view and making it so they don't collapse anymore. So we need to split the view component in order to extract the settings options we need, then add the sidebar entry, create a controller with a route and action for this new setting, and then create a specific view component and do all of that behind a feature flag. So there's a fair bit of work to make that smallish change, but I think it's going to have to be like a wait and see. Because we don't know how much progress in 13.12 he's going to be able to make on the refactor. Although it is nice that Attar is going to be able to jump in and help build out the group group sidebar refactor. So at the group level, the left nav. So hopefully we'll be able to, work in parallel there and get it done a little faster. And the last note I had today, towards the end of the day, I finally got around to doing something I've been meaning to do for weeks, which was build out a bunch of issues for implementing different content types for the content editor. So background here is that TipTap and Prose Mirror have base support for common mark. In order to get to the point where we have the ability to render and edit every type of content available in GitLab flavored Markdown, we're going to need to create extensions for every node type. So in order to organize this and prioritize this, we talked about creating issues for sort of issue pairs for every node type. Some of this is already done because of the base level common mark support. So we saw a demo today with Enrique showing kind of the current status of the content editor in the wiki. And it has things like bold and list items and stuff like that already built in. But I'm going to create just like a boatload of issues. And those will all require at least a little bit of input from design. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'll probably just, per our last meeting, make sure that they all start in workflow design. You have a chance to look at them, provide guidance on which icon we should use or create an icon if we don't have one. And if there's any custom UI for something like creating links, you have a chance to weigh in on how that should be presented, etc. So you'll probably get pinged on a whole bunch of issues. Hopefully a lot of them are just like, use this bold icon that we're using already and we're done. But just to make sure you're in the loop, I figured putting them in workflow design would be good.
Sounds good.
Cool. So that's it for my agenda.
Cool. This week is probably pretty quick for me. So yeah, over the next week or so, just ensuring that the issues are up to date for 14.0 and anything further. Trying to make sure that issues are up to date. At the same time as like getting my own head up to date by like cleaning up to-dos and stuff. So that's why you probably see me messaging you, Eric, on like 4-month-old issues. That's just because I'm finally like trying to get it on top and just being more deliberate with my actions. On a side note, I got access to Sisense finally to create reports. This is probably why I was struggling in the past because I was like, I couldn't do anything or see the queries. So I've done a lot of Sisense and Periscope work in the past, so I could help out with creation of dashboards and stuff like that. If the events are in there right now, then yeah. If there's any issues in the past that you haven't got a chance to tackle, feel free to like ping me on them, and I can take a look at trying to do stuff there. And yeah, I'll just segue into my UX research comment. Yeah, the debrief last week was really good. I'm going to take some of that. Some of the conversations there and then refine that into like another video and then share out the findings this week for the greater audience.
Yeah, thanks. I really liked that format, and I think we could definitely embrace that. And you can shift the time around. I don't think you always need to feel like you need to stay up super late to include us on a sync call. Like this format, just to hear you talk about it was really helpful. And it was a great way to see the thought process of like, this is how we structured the research. This is what we noticed, and this is sort of my action items that I'm proposing, and all of that does get documented in issues, but just hearing you talk about it, it's easier to digest and consolidate. So I'm a big fan of keeping this moving forward.
Yep, cool. We'll do that. Yeah, the goal of this versus the more polished one is like sometimes you just want to like rubber duck and just talk about things, and like maybe the angle you're coming at or you're oblivious to it, or you're like trying to push your own agenda. So yeah, it's just a chance for the group to chime in and kind of help out shape that message. So yeah, moving forward, I'll definitely do more of these things.
Appreciate it. And also, I'm glad to hear that you've done some Periscope and Sisense work before. I'll probably take you up on it. I'm trying to get better at SQL in general, but also navigating around Sisense, which is a whole other thing. I know Chad has offered before. So now I have basically two people who have offered that I can weigh whose time I want to steal.
And they seem to be like in two categories. Like either it's a straightforward query and like you can see the example, or it like uses some view of a snippet of some included thing and you just have no idea where it's coming from or how to change it.
Yeah, every time I think I'm gonna like go in and be like, oh yeah, I can just like alter this to get some more information or break this down by week instead of month, and then I'm just like, oh, never mind, I don't know what's going on.
Semi-related note, I'm trying to push the TW leadership to ask for more tooling for us, tooling, graphs, etc. If you have tips on who I need to make nice with,
You saw they just announced the new metrics group. Did you read your email yet?
Yes, I saw the message in Slack.
So that seems like a good place to start.
Okay.
Yeah, when I cut myself off before I went too deep, but I had started like a document of everything when I tried to look into this before, and I found 5 different people telling me 4 different things of 6 different places to find stuff, and different ways to get metrics. So.
And carry on, y'all.
Then I will just go into my point that was just an FYI. I'm still catching up from my OO time and also moving into SUS analysis this week. So I'll be getting back to the nav and settings work next week. But with this in mind, I'll review the left nav research to see if there were any open questions that fit the scope of what we were talking about, like renaming items, regrouping, just things that could be tested a bit more easily to see if there are any wins we could get in before then. And Michael, if there's anything top of mind that you think we might need to do some research on, just let me know.
Yeah. Cool. No, no problem. One of the things that will probably come up your way next week is actually perfect because it gives me some time to like think about it this week. Is the bigger left nav initiatives as kind of like the bigger interaction patterns and things like that. So, so this is not slated for 14.0. This is probably more for like future direction of like where the left nav could be heading. So we'll set up a separate call for that one next week. But yeah, it gives me some time to create the issue this week. So it all works out, Catherine.
Awesome.
I should probably go back and highlight that Enrique did demo a working version. Him and Himanshu have been working on the content editor in the wiki view, and there's an MR out there. I know, Michael, you've seen it because you provided great feedback on the experience around switching between the current / old Markdown editor and the new content editor. But the demo was exciting. So we're getting there. It's almost usable. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's looking really cool. I think I think we should be pretty close to being able to, put it somewhere that we can start playing around with it and demoing it. I'll caveat that by saying that today TipTap opened up public beta for their 2.0 version. And so Enrique's doing a little bit of a research spike to see what it would take to do the upgrade now. We were planning on doing it at some point in the future, but because we haven't invested as much time into 1.x, if it's stable enough and if the migration is quick enough, we can do it now, which gives us a lot of benefits. Not to mention allows us to have a little bit closer relationship with the TipTap folks and provide feedback and potentially contributions to the project if we feel it's necessary. So that's pretty exciting.
Yep, definitely. From a design perspective, like I'm pretty excited about the styling changes. And then, yeah, I think the 2.0 kind of might address the better block editing experience. So one of the things that I've ran into when creating the prototype for the user testing was, you know how like other platforms have like a plus sign or like some kind of visual cue to say like, if you click on this, then you can add the floating menu in. So perhaps that kind of addresses that and opens the door for different interactions of inserting elements into the page. So super excited about that.
Yeah, same. I think it's going to be a big upgrade, and if we can just come out the gates with it, I think it's going to be better long term. Hopefully, it's stable enough and ready for our usage. I did have a question, and I just kind of learned this through an email I traded with the TipTap team. It seems like their relationship to y.js is actually a lot closer than I thought, which is why they're using it as the sort of backend for their collaborative editing component. And I was wondering, Chad, if you could maybe on a different call or just like help me understand how y.js fits into the puzzle. And I understand we likely can't use it because it's a node service, but like what, I don't know. I guess like if in a world where we could use it, like what else would we need to build?
So, Yeah, that's a very deep question. And one that I've been pushing whenever people mention collaborative editing. And the the important thing to know is you're not just gonna get collaborative editing, true collaborative editing, just by using a client library. And by true collaborative editing, I mean like multiple people editing the same document at a time, or multiple people concurrently reordering items on a list, like issues in the board. So, and the way to do that is, hold on a second. Okay, sorry, multiple people sharing the office. So the issue is on the back end, you need to have the right architecture to support that, which is something to handle those concurrent things. It's either an event sourcing architecture or a timestamp type architecture. And if you look at the TipTap docs, and I've linked to it a couple of places, you can see where they discuss that. You have to have a backend to support that. Just a regular relational database, standard out of the box Rails paradigm is not going to give it to you. And just having PubSub with, action cable or sockets pushing out your changes, that's not it. You have to have commands that are coming in concurrently, ordered, emitting events. The clients are listening to those events. They have optimistic concurrency, rolling back their changes if they didn't get their change in. It's a lot of architectural concerns on the back end. So, does that answer your question? And YJS is one way to do that, and it's a Node implementation. Like you said, probably that's not something that we would implement on the back end. We would do something Railsy or Ruby.
Sure. Yeah, it does help. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it does help.
So you can fake it a lot, like if you just say, hey, automatically update the sidebar, or like, you can get a lot of that
Right.
with PubSub, but true CRDTs and collaborative editing implies a certain type of architecture on the back end, and it's not a plain relational database.
Right.
Hmm.
So in a world where we could use y.js,
Oh,
what
and one more
would,
thing. I know
yeah.
Bartek Marnane who's now in charge of staffing these single engineer groups,
Mhm.
like around observability and collaborative editing. He was the one who originally hired me, so I know him, and I've been like making sure he's aware of these things, and like as much as I can, concerns that we need to hire the right people, and these are deep problems that you need to approach the right way.
For sure.
Thanks for breaking that down, Chad. It was very clear and like not too technical. So it's like, I understand. Cool. My question is from a problem validation standpoint. Have we done anything in the spirit of like collaborative editing, kind of seeing what that might look like for GitLab, or like what kind of problem it's trying to solve from a research standpoint or a product standpoint, Eric or Catherine?
I haven't seen any formal opportunity canvases or any like true business case other than we feel strongly that there is customer desire. And so it's on my plate to put together some proper research from that standpoint, from the problem validation standpoint. And obviously I'd work with you and Catherine to try and get the data I need to make that decision. Is definitely something we are investigating on a more of a like a gut understanding of the market rather than a proper like work stream.
Cool. That makes sense. And that's product, right? A bit of science, a bit of gut.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's enough of hypotheticals for that. And I'll continue to ask dumb questions about collaborative editing as I gather this information and try and figure out whether it's something we can or want to do, but that's helpful.
So I can jump in about the top nav a little bit.
Yeah.
So the first of all, we had a really good discussion with Fran after the backlog refinement, and we're in a much better place and in agreement upon a shared architecture. He took a lot of our suggestions, and we're gonna change our some of our naming and terminology to be more consistent with what he's doing, and so that landed in a really good place. As
Great.
far as getting stuff usable, so in the non-responsive view, it mostly works. There's some styling and stuff. The responsive view, like we have the basics, and we're still getting the recent or more frequently used projects or whatever stuff added. But I talked to Paul, and I'd like to shoot by hopefully the end of this week or the beginning of next week that we have something close to ready to merge behind a user-specific feature flag that we can turn it on and start playing with it even if it's not complete. And I think the main blocker for that is me cleaning up the tests for the enable feature flag. And just before this meeting, I finally got the latest epic spam MR green and ready for review, so I can focus on this again.
Awesome. Well, end of this week sounds fantastic, and targeting our group.
Optimistic, but it's like I think we just need to clean it up and get it mergeable, which is really just the feature flags. It's like it has the menus there, and we can start playing with it.
Yeah, if you can target our group, and then we'll see if it works, and then we can target a wider group or all of GitLab or something like that in the following weeks and get some good feedback. I think that's awesome. Cool. Well, we are through the agenda. I don't have anything else, so I will wrap up the meeting a few minutes early, unless anybody else has anything else to bring up. Oh, and Chad, my GDK just successfully built and is running. So thank you for unblocking me there.
Yeah, if you go with the latest flow and just go all in on ASDF, it seems to be pretty stable for me.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to that, and now I can install it locally. So yeah, awesome. Okay, well, everyone have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. See you on Slack and on the internet. See ya.
Bye, everyone.